I think probably the biggest thing for me, if I were to identify what it is that I'm doing, because a lot of times I don't know. I think that sometimes the Holy Spirit just takes us and leads, and sometimes we don't know. But I think it's uniting health with holiness. Uniting health with holiness. And I want to share with you something that literally has changed me. This past January, the relics of St. Sharbel were traveling around the country. And I don't know anybody here who knows who St. Sharbel is. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I want to share it because it's a heartfelt story that I experienced. This is a monk from the mountains of Lebanon. Beautiful, beautiful saint, very active, very, like thousands and thousands of miracles have been documented through the intercession of St. Sharbel from the mountains of Lebanon, is where Anaya, from where he's from. Well, there's a Maronite church in Phoenix, and I was raised, I'm part Lebanese and my father's Croatian, and so being raised, on my mom's side, I was very much a part of the Maronite rite. I would go to church with my grandparents every Sunday, and I loved it. But in the Maronite rite, the relics of St. Sharbel made their way around this past year. And they made it to Phoenix in January, and there was a gal who, 31 years old, Hispanic, never heard of St. Sharbel, never really even knew what a Maronite was. But her sister-in-law heard or read somewhere that week that this saint had actually cured a blind boy in Mexico. So they said, well, let's go, that's great. And so she went really in dire, dire need of healing. The girl was going to be going into a nursing home with 4 children, couldn't take care of her kids, walked in with a white cane. Her disease was intracranial hypertension. The pressure in the brain was so high over years that it caused really the optic nerve to be constricted, and she lost her vision. Wasn't born blind, but lost her vision, had shunts put in, LP shunt, VP shunts, nothing worked. So anyway, she comes to this church, went to confession, went to Mass, was blessed with the holy oil, which is what they normally do, and then went home and came back the next day for the Spanish Mass. Well, that night, she went to sleep and woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she had severe burning in her eyes and head pain and so forth. To make a long story short, she said to her husband, I can just see the outline. He said, go back to sleep. There's no way you can't see. You're dreaming or something. She said, no. So anyway, that week she went to her ophthalmologist and still couldn't see. Within 48 hours, she went back, and her vision was completely restored to 20/20. And the optic disc, which is damaged over long-term high pressure, was pearly, completely normal. Now, as a physician, I was asked to come into this whole thing as one of the committee members to evaluate this situation and validate whether or not this was a miracle or not. And I had never been in that situation before. And I got to tell you, when I examined her on 3 different occasions, we did extensive research, literature search. I took her then to 2 other ophthalmologists, neuro-ophthalmologists, and there's just no explanation medically. And as a devout Catholic physician, the last thing that I want to see is something that is termed that may not be accurate. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't want to lead people. So I was even more, harsh to make sure that is this, obviously I have faith and we believe because miracles happen every day. I see it every day. But this was really something. And through the grace of God, through the intercession of St. Sharbel, this is something that was documented and is now a documented miracle amongst us. This just happened within the last couple months. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you, that sometimes we forget, or sometimes we don't think about it, or we're not that close to it. But I got to tell you, it took my heart and it changed me in terms of how I minister to patients, and it's pretty awesome. So uniting health and holiness, I think, is an important part.